All right, y'all. Hey, welcome to the filling station. Y'all, I'm so excited. So we're looking at the SPY, and in this video, we are just finding learning points, teachable moments, right? So let me go ahead and give my disclaimer really quick. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth, and yes, the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. With that being said, let's get started. So we are looking at the SPY, and as you can see, we are consolidating, as most people, and that's the technical name for it, right? But I always like to give it something that relates to me. It's called the gathering spot. Why? Because price is just gathered in this area. We're not making too many highs or too many lows. We're still in this area. And I always say, even though price ran up to this area and formed a wick, that long stick, that is a wick, it formed a wick, it still came back to the gathering spot, right? So that's something to be mindful of. Now, it looks as if the SPY is trying to break out of this gathering spot. We've broken through this level of resistance we knew that we had. We had the VWAP, which is another level of resistance. We've broken through that. We have trouble here at the 561.69, which is right at this 20 EMA. So I wouldn't enter a trade right now because I know we're going to have trouble here, and here. So I set an alert to let me know that we have somewhat cleared this area. And another thing that I like to look for is my MACD to cross. My MACD needs to give me a second confirmation as to it's okay to get into this trade to the upside, meaning we're breaking out of the gathering spot. Now, some people would say, well, we broke out, we got past the first line. Well, we have a lot of other areas ahead. Resistance is what it is, right? We have a lot of resistance ahead, so you don't want to enter a trade when you know you have a lot of resistance ahead, because even if you enter now, we can get rejected here and come back to the downside and we're back into a situation. Then you've entered a trade that is going to go against you. And then some people, if you're like me, when I first started, you want to stay in hoping that it's going to continue doing what it's doing, right? Again, we're not going on the hope, we're paying attention to the charts, we're learning from the charts. Okay, so as we see here, we see that price did try to test this area. We have broken through this 20 EMA. Now we're at the 50 EMA. We tested it. Now it looks like SPY is trying to break out of this gathering spot. We gathered here. We came and tested this area, got rejected, only to come back down. You see, now sellers were here at this place, meaning sell at this location if price comes back to this place. That's why we tested that area. The high of this candle here is 561.28. I had the 561.82. Let's see, 561.82. The high was 561.82. Yeah. So yeah, the high of the candle, 561.82. I had this 561.82 marked as a level of resistance, which is where really close to that 50 EMA here. So I would say that would be the reason to not enter that trade based on, you see this long green candle here. That doesn't mean that we're not going to get rejected and come back down. So if you are a scalper, yes, you very well could have entered this trade here, but you would have gotten back out really quick. That would have been a 30-cent difference in price. But, depending on how many, if you're buying options, how many contracts you bought, or shares, how many shares you bought, you could have made a profit. Totally up to you. You are in charge of your portfolio. The most important thing is to know that, where am I going to have trouble? Again, I would not have entered based on, I knew that I was going to have a lot of overhead trouble or resistance ahead. So looking at the SPY as of now, we are making higher highs. It looks as if my MACD is giving me a signal. It looks like it wants to cross. It has not crossed, so I cannot enter this trade because I do not have a confirmation as to it's okay to enter this trade. Yes, it is breaking out of the gathering spot. We do have 3 higher highs. However, we made this high and got rejected. So we got some trouble in this area here. That's clearly, for me, that's a sign that no, I do not need to be getting in this to the upside as of now. Because if it was a strong move back to the upside, we wouldn't have had this wick here to the up, to come back down here. We would have continued. My MACD would have given me a signal. That means we had a strong move up. That's not always the case in this example. Let me say that. So as of now, I would definitely watch this level here of 561.69. The VWAP, we are using that as support. That purple line right now is our support because it came down, tested this line only to go back up. So we need to watch this level here of the VWAP as our support. Now, if we break that, we have broken through a level of support. So we are stuck in between support and resistance. And that's how I look at it on a smaller scale. Right now, my support is here and I'm losing that support based on this 5-minute chart. I have lost that support. And right now, my next level of support would have been at this 561.49 or this 561.45, which is close to the Fibonacci level and very close to the 561.37. It would not surprise me to see the SPY decline because we got rejected here. We broke through VWAP. When I see it under the VWAP and close under the VWAP, that means it's bearish. That means down. If it's above the VWAP, I look at that as more of a bullish signal. And yeah, so I would say I would definitely watch this level of 561.47. If we break this level, just know it's really close to this 561.41 and this 561.39 area that we have marked. So again, we are stuck in between support and resistance. So this would not be a reason to enter a trade because yes, it is breaking out of the gathering spot. Yes, it did break back to the upside only to get rejected. So we're going to wait on confirmation. And the most important thing about trading is waiting. Are you able to wait? Do you have patience? Are you a patient person? I always tell you the market is going to teach you something about you that you may not have realized about yourself. Are you patient? Are you patient enough to wait on the right entry? Are you able to wait on the right entry? That's something to be mindful of, right? So again, we're looking at the SPY. Yes, it did break out of the gathering spot with the 3 higher highs only to get rejected. Came back and broke through VWAP, found support at this 5 EMA, this blue line, and this little gray line that we already had marked at 561.49. Why? Because that was a previous support area for us. That's why it's always important to be mindful of where your support and where your resistance is. So it looks as if now we are bouncing off of support. Are we going to continue to the upside or are we going to have trouble again? Now it needs to clear this 561.78. If we cannot break above that 561.78 and this 561.82 area, then it has not given me a strong signal to let me know it's okay to enter my trade to the upside. Why? Because we just had trouble in this area before. Now it's got to show me that it's strong enough to continue to the upside. And towards the end of the day, SPY tends to move a little bit interesting. If we've had a strong move up, sometimes we sell off. It is Friday, let's say that, and the market can do what it does. However, don't think that just because it did this today or yesterday that it's going to do this today. Sometimes, we can get caught on the wrong side of that based on thinking that it's going to repeat. It's going to continue to do, or it did this, it may do the opposite. No, pay attention to your charts. And I always say, y'all trade what you see. So again, we're looking at the SPY. It looks as if we got rejected. We're having trouble in this 561.68 area. It needs to get above 561.82 to give us some type of confirmation. The great thing about it is, look at their MACD. It is a little bit closer. It has not crossed. That is what we're looking for, the crossing of the MACD, and for it to make a higher high and break above this 561.82. We did have higher highs here, but is this going to give us a hanging man candle, right? So that's something to be mindful of. I, again, would not enter the trade until I have confirmation or have a clear signal as to what it wants to do, because we're in it to make money and not lose money, right? So I always say pay attention to your charts and pay attention to what you're, learning the candles are not hard or difficult, to do. It's just having the discipline once you understand what you're doing to do what you need to do. I hope I said that right. Yeah. So again, y'all, we're looking at the SPY, learning and growing. This is just a teachable moment. What can we learn from the SPY? It looks as if we are trying to get back above this 561.82, 561.85 area. Our MACD has crossed. So this is a signal for me. I need to be careful because I could very well enter the trade there to the upside. And if I was looking at a smaller time frame, we probably had, look, just know now that if I'm inside the trade, if I've already entered the trade, where am I going to have trouble? I need to go to a smaller time frame at this point, right? So as of now, I know I'm going to have trouble here at 562.06. Again, here at this ATR trail and stop at 562.24 and 562.29. Those are three places that I can get stopped out of my trade. My 5 and 50 is about to cross, so I have several confirmations that I can enter or could have entered this to the upside. My MACD crossed. I had three higher highs. We broke past the level of resistance, which was that 561.82. Oh, we're having trouble, right? So that's something that you have to always be careful with. Just because we broke through that level does not mean we're going to have the support to sustain that, because in the market, I always say, y'all, anything is possible, but nothing is guaranteed, right? So again, we are looking at the SPY on the 5-minute chart. I'm going to go to the 2-minute chart, and as you can see, the 2-minute looks like it's giving us a double top here, right there. Looks like we're having a double top on the 2-minute. However, the MACD is still up. So are we going to continue to the upside, or is this going to be our place to take us back to the downside? I'm going to go back to the 5-minute chart just to see where we are. So my alert is now, if I'm already in the trade, I definitely need to set an alert to let me know that 561.65 area, if the SPY should break below that, I'm in trouble, right? Because keep in mind, I'm in the trade. Not technically, but for teaching purposes, I'm already in the trade, right? So if we break under this, just know I could possibly have trouble here at the VWAP or this 5 EMA, but the move could be such a strong move down that if you didn't set a stop loss, you're going to have a very quick loss. So that's something to be mindful of. Get in the practice of setting your stop losses. And you know, a lot of people say, well, they can see those. Yeah, that's true. But are you going to be able to move as quick as that computer click, right? That's something to think about. So set your stop losses, or be willing to get out if it drops really quick, just like that candle, right? The prime example here is what that candle just did, right? We were up here and it just dropped. So that's something that you have to look for. And the SPY tends to make moves like that often. So you have to be careful. Set your stop losses or be willing to get out. Now, when they make sudden moves like that, try not to panic. Let's see if it's going to correct itself like it did here, right? So try not to panic. Just pay very close attention to it. That's your place of, I need to pay attention to this, especially if you're in the trade. You definitely need to watch this. And, you know, this is your area of support. We've bounced off that twice. Are we going to come back to this area and decline, or are we going to continue, you know, moving to the upside? That's something to be mindful of. Look at what the MACD is doing. The MACD looked as if it was crossing, like we had a move like, okay, it's going to cross. I'm going to go to the 2-minute and see how the MACD looks. Yeah. So it's just kind of close. The lines have not, actually fanned out just a little bit here on the smaller time frame. On this 5-minute chart, we had somewhat of a crossing. So I need to watch this at this point. It's going to be my deciding on if I, you know, was in the trade, should I stay in or should I get out? Yes, we are making higher highs, looking at the candles. This candle here is interesting. This area is interesting. So I would definitely have to watch that, because do I need to be getting out of my trade is something to be mindful of. So yeah, I hope these are this is very, very helpful. When I look at the market, this is what I see. Again, I look at support and resistance on a smaller time frame. I always try to locate my gathering spot. Where am I going to have trouble? Those are places that I have to constantly think about. I always look at my MACD to see, you know, am I on the right side? Do I have confirmation? You know, and then if I am in the trade, I look at the 5-minute chart to make that decision. And that's based on if I'm scalping. I mean, either way, if I'm scalping or standing a little bit longer. This is the 2-minute chart, and I'll go to the 2-minute chart, and it should give me somewhat as a confirmation as I'm on the right side of the trade. Again, where are your trouble places? Identifying your gathering spot. If you look at this 2-minute chart, SPY has been gathering, you know, creating a gathering spot here for a while. So again, towards the end of the day, it wouldn't surprise me to see a very strong move. And because we made a high of 563, let me make sure, 563. Again, it wouldn't surprise me to see us come back to the downside, right? But I always say nothing is guaranteed. Anything is possible, but nothing is guaranteed. So again, at this 5-minute chart, our MACD gave us a signal that, it crossed. We are trying to make higher highs. My concern is the wicks that I see here. Again, it could very well make another strong move, this time to the downside, and it could be a very strong move to the downside. So that's something to be mindful of. Yeah. So again, y'all, I hope that these videos are very, very helpful. I call it charting, learning to, things to recognize, things to pay attention to, things I watch or look for when I'm trading. And I always go and find that gathering spot. Make sure that I have confirmation. Make sure that I don't have a lot of resistance ahead before entering the trade. If I do, then I need to wait and make sure that I get past certain levels before I enter the trade. And once I do, I make my entry. Once it goes against my why I got in, it's time to get out. And you can't be afraid to get out. I always say to live to trade another day, right? So y'all, until next time, y'all, I hope that everyone have a very productive day. If you could, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Why? Because we learn and we grow together. So until next time, y'all, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others.